Hello and welcome to the first official episode of the Reichcast. I am your host, Keikes Kolchak Reichen, and for this episode, well, as you might have noticed, we have some animations and drawings because I've actually bothered to make it presentable now instead of just being a shoestring of me rambling without a script and walking around. As for today's topic, as you might have seen in the title, we are going to discuss the lore of this little mod for Rusted Warfare called Blitzkrieg. And as you might have noticed on some past videos, I am indeed affiliated with this mod as the main, and for now only, spriter in it. Shocking, I know. Who could have seen that? But it wasn't always this way. In fact, for the first few years of the existence of said mod, I didn't even knew that it was a thing. And as you can see in the screen right now, this is how I've decided to divide the video for video purposes and stuff. And so without further ado, long ago, in the far distant year of 2019, in a little Russian town in bumfuck nowhere, there was a boy. Someone who was passionate in the real-time strategy genre. And in this year, he decided to put his skills and passion to practice. And so, he downed some energy drinks, started coding, and ended up with a mod that will shape the standards and lore of many in the Rusted Warfare community. This man, who shall from now shall be referred as Overdosage, later Pseudo, created Blitzkrieg, a World War II mod for Rusted Warfare. And though I didn't know it yet, it will be the World War II mod for Rusted Warfare. At first, like all mods, it lacked much of anything. Just a few German and Soviet units to prove the concept. But it already showed promise. As years passed to half of 2021, he updated it, adding more units, nations, and revising some concepts. I joined the server in around 2021, I don't really remember where, as a mere user and observer. For me, I was mainly captivated by one thing he put that other Rusted Warfare mods and the base game lacked: artillery. I can't stress this enough. Other Rusted Warfare gameplay before this point was just make big unit, rush it to the field. And you couldn't do anything if you didn't have another big unit, because almost no one thought of implementing long-range units as well as him. Other attempts were more, let's just say, they didn't really fit the balance of the game and were either complete failures or were borderline unusable. Well, I mean, by failure, I mean, like, being overpowered as all hell. Alright, where the fucking descriptive, alright. Another thing he had different was having a tech tree to unlock units in a match. As we'll see in future segments, the way that it worked changed. But the thing is that it had it all. Instead of just being like in vanilla, where you upgrade a building to unlock the new units. On this one you actually had to, spend points to unlock technologies. Gameplay was dynamic, with units being made for certain purposes and counters, like riflemen are cheap and quick to train, but they don't have that much of health and can't fire on the move. Some machine gunners are fast, and in early patches they even carried anti-tank grenades, making them perfect to counter machine gunners who were slow to move and train and cost a lot, but had a long range. This extended to tanks, ships, planes, as well as some buildings. All was going well development-wise, but in 2021, Overdosage was tired, working on this mod for 1.5 years. He was burned out, and so he created a new admin role on his server and gave it to 4 people to run it. He also turned the mod public. Seeing this, 2 industrious men sought to take the mantle of the Blitzkrieg and carry its torch. On one side, you have the inheritors of the original server, the Miho team, and on the other, you had just a yee-bit French lad with some experience with modding, the Mr. Stroheim's team. Oh, and we're in this time frame of between me joining and this happening. Well, I was training my spriting skills, of course, and they were okay, I guess, but nothing like it will be in the future right now. Speaking of which, the second that overdosage left the server, the race was on. Winning will mean having a good mod that will inspire mothers for generations. Failure will mean being forgotten in history. That was when some of my fan sprites that overdosage never really used. I was approached by one Mr. Stroheim, and he kindly asked me if I wanted to join him, as in I'd sprite the units and he would code them. I agreed, saying that it will be my chance to give Blitzkrieg the face that it needed. In the first few months, I made some units for Italy, France, and Japan, which were needed since they were only in testing stage when overdosage left, filling them up to a playable state with an air force, army, and tanks, but at this point, no ships. Why? Well, because I didn't thought I'd be able to sprite ships at this stage, because my skills weren't that up to sketch to be able to do that. We updated it up to 5.0 in late 2021. Meanwhile, Miho had only sent one beta in all this time, but he said it was worth it because he was working on a squad system, which basically, instead of individual infantry, you'd buy a squad whenever you select a barracks. But in early 2022, me and Stroheim prepared to do an update to put us in the lead against Miho. An update that will introduce new units to all nations, instead of just going on piecemeal basis. The second we announced the list for it, the Civil War had started in earnest. But while I told away to sprite my stuff, the Miho team seemed quiet, only teasing a few units that were just reskins of already existing units. And in June, a miracle happened. It was all finished before Miho had released a single fucking update. Blitzkrieg 0.7 Combat Evolved. And fun fact, if you go back to my channel, and yeah, you can see the trailer that I made for it. It isn't quite as good, but it's what I had. Combat Evolved was released, bringing unit count from around 400 to nearly 700, giving more playstyles to nations with it. Though not manifested publicly, the main sentiment on the Miho camp was of humiliation and distress, and the pace of spriting would put them to worry more, as just in the end of 2022, Miho was going to be forced to earn the crown that he inherited, for the list for update 0.7 was put forth. This one more ambitious than the other, with two nations planned to enter in, de facto and Finland. Of course, to sprite all of 0.7 alone would be suicide, but for our luck, a new spriter will come to the rescue and help us with half of the spriting. An all things Japanese enthusiast, Hyuga. Yes, that's his Discord handle and stuff. And so, throughout all of late 2022 up to the end of 2023, it was all work on finishing 0.7. It brought unit count up to 1,100. But sadly, we couldn't put Tripacto in this update. We will have to wait till update 0.7 part 2 for it to come. However, before Miho could have been defeated on the battlefield, he was schooled. For you see, the king have came back for his crown. Overdosage, now Tsudo, had came back and removed Miho's team from the OG server, and as a Christmas gift, he gave the mantle of being the official Blitzkrieg to Stroheim. And so it was in late 2023, Update 0.7 Part 1, Northern Lights, was released. And in early 2024, Update 0.7 Part 2, Powder Keg, was unveiled. After it, there was some extra stuff to the Japanese codename Update 0.8 Path of the Tiger, and nowadays I'm finishing what will be the last update of all, the Blitzkrieg Definitive Edition. Well, now that the laws are explained and stuff, how does one actually play Blitzkrieg? Well, let's start with some basics. Spawning in, you're greeted with the Nation Selection UI, and after choosing one, you will spawn in the HQ alongside 3 engineers. And if you look at the top right of the screen, you'll find the resources that are used in this game. Money, steel, and oil. Money and steel are your run-of-the-mill currencies, but oil is special. Oil is expanded as a unit cap. Every unit, excluding most of the infantry, have an oil cost of maintenance. That is, it's spent when it's spawned in and is retrieved when said unit dies. This ensures that a player can't just wait it out and just build a shit ton of units out of the blue, which then forces him to expand and fight for control of the resource nodes. To extract resources, a player has 2 options. Normal extractors that give more resources and can be upgraded to either focus on steel or currency, but need to be placed on resource nodes, and synthetic extractors that can be placed anywhere, but are more expensive and are capped to a certain number, and don't give as many resources as a normal extractor. After setting up your resource collecting buildings, the next thing you might do is build unit producing buildings. For these, we have 5. Barracks for the infantry, artillery factory for artillery, light vehicles and support units, the tank factory for heavy vehicles, the airfield for flying vessels, and a port for sea vessels. All of them cost a production deficit of steel, and they require a certain number of normal extractors to even be able to be built. And now, the last 4 structures, you have your support structures like radar, defensive structures like trenches and mines, attacking structures like dugouts and bunkers, and terrain denial structures like barrage balloons and barbed wire. After killing your first unit, you might see this new resource appear. The research point. As you might get from its intuition, is that it's gained from killing enemy units. You can spend them on your HQ to upgrade your army, giving you an edge over your opponent. And now, to the part that everyone likes in real-time strategy games. Now, to keep this from being an hour-long video, I'll address units as the archetypes that they play as. Infantry is the queen of arms of any game. They're cheap to spawn, they're able to be throughputed more than other units. They serve to hold ground, conduct assaults, and deal with other units in some cases. Of note are flamethrowers and mortars for dealing with buildings, anti-tank units for obvious reasons, specialist units for having either minimap invisibility and slight self-regen, and if you're playing as Germany, an anti-aircraft unit with the Fliegerfaust. Tanks are the armored fist that makes or breaks a game. They are immune from small arms fire and can be very versatile, coming in light, medium, heavy, and super heavy varieties. as well as tank destroyers, self-propelled artillery, infantry support vehicles, and self-propelled howitzers. With high health and damage output, they are forced to be reckoned with on the battlefield. If infantry is the queen of all arms, artillery is the god of the battlefield. And in Blitzkrieg, it's no different. With high range, damage, output, and damage radius, they are principal means of defense against an assault. Just like poison, artillery is better when concentrated. In it, you have three types: field artillery, with small range and fast reloads, field howitzers, with long range and slow reloads, and strategic artillery, with the longest ranges in game, but only being able to hit other artillery pieces or buildings. In this category, you also have anti-aircraft guns and anti-tank guns, being specialized to take out specific units on the battlefield and having relatively small range. Of note are the British Z Battery AA that uses rockets to deal with an enemy-infested sky. Just make sure you don't have any allied aircraft nearby, otherwise you're going to end up like this chap. Aircraft ensure you have strategic advantages over the enemy. In it we have fighters, interceptors, ground strikers, bombers, torpedo bombers, helicopters, and transport planes. Fighters are the most basic aircraft type. They can hunt other aircraft, infantry, and artillery. They can't hit ships and tanks though, but in every other way, they're perfect to ensure you have an upper hand over a foe. They also have long sights, making them perfect scouts. Interceptors are design made for fighting other planes, sacrificing the meteorial capabilities of the fighters for the prospect of aerial superiority. They're faster and have more health points than fighters, making them ideal for dealing with bombers. Holy fuck, my throat is dry. Strikers are aircraft armed with bombs, rockets, and cannons. They can hit all types of ground troops. They can halt an enemy at his tracks if you can coordinate a good strike run in them. Bombers carry only bombs and can only attack buildings, making them perfect for destroying your enemy's logistics. Torpedo bombers are, as the name gives away, torpedo bombers. They use the torpedoes to hit the enemy surface combatants, as well as using depth charges against the submarines. Though be careful because torpedoes, they don't launch the torpedoes if the ship is too close to the shore. Just make note of that. Helicopters are transport units that are faster than other units, but they have to land on the ground to deliver them, leaving them exposed to the fire from ground units that will normally not be directed at them. And finally, transports. They can only carry engineers or paratroopers, but in turn are able to realize paradrops, making them quicker to act to any situation and more strategically viable if you're trying to just get a resource extractor on a resource node on some random ass island. Of special importance is the American B-29, carrying a nuclear bomb. It can devastate an enemy's backline, of course, because it's a nuclear bomb. Ships are counted as all sea-going vessels in game. The ability to use the sea is a triumph in of itself. They're divided majorly in blue water and brown water. But all can still use all types of water tiles. This is just a size designation. On brown water, vessels smaller than a destroyer, we have the following. Patrol boats. They are the smallest and cheapest naval unit available. Armed usually with just machine guns or autocannons, their main job is to hunt down enemy submarines, though some also carry torpedoes for surprise attack against enemy surface combatants. A patrol boat that is left alone is just as dangerous as a battleship. Frigates are the vessels armed with proper cannons, but they don't have the displacement of a destroyer, making them small and not able to carry as many guns. Their main job is to keep transports and other units away from your installations by being a general nuisance. Transport vessels, that are able to transport infantry inside. Ah, fuck. I'm not doing all of this again. Transports of vessels that are able to transport infantry inside them through water. Not all transports are being built in the port, and some of them are built in the tank factory. And they some of them pack quite a punch against enemy combatants. On blue water, we have the following destroyers. They are the smallest blue water vessel. Armed with 3 to 5-inch cannons, they pack torpedoes and anti-submarine equipment as well as light anti-aircraft armament. They're the ship that you're going to be seeing mostly around the game due to their bigger size than brown water vessels and relative cheapness compared to blue water vessels. Light cruisers are cruisers with 5 to 6-inch guns. They have more health points than destroyers and carry more guns, though most of them don't carry torpedoes. They, however, have many anti-aircraft guns in them, making them good as escorts and stuff. Heavy cruisers are cruisers with 7 to 11-inch guns. They can perform shore bombardment better out of all units for having a heavy caliber main armament. They lack that many light anti-aircraft guns, but make up for it with heavy anti-aircraft guns. And now the battleships. These are the lions of the seas, with heavy guns that can destroy any naval vessel that they come across, though they can only shore bombard buildings. This limits them from being able to attack enemy positions that do not have any kind of buildings, limiting them for fighting other ships most of the time. Aircraft carriers are seagoing airstrips with many anti-aircraft guns. They can serve as a quick strike force if your main air force is too far away to deal with units. They come with fighters, dive bombers, and torpedo bombers. Some of them even carry depth charges for dealing with submarines. Submarines are silent assassins that deliver torpedoes to enemy vessels without them being able to fight back most of the time, though they have a dive time, limiting their time of action on an area before they have to resurface, in which they become sitting ducks to any ship with a significant armament. And I also like to point out that Blitzkrieg does indeed model gun traverse. So if you order your unit to attack somewhere in which your gun cannot traverse, it will not be able to do that. So this is mostly a hassle with ships and things that have dual armament, because one of them is going to be aimed that way while the other isn't. So I have to position them correctly. And that has been today's Reichcast. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well to show it to other people so they as well can be enlightened by it. Have a good night, and I don't know, stay safe. Go get some goddamn bitches for the love of God.